A wounded Mafia boss, an untouched nun. He only needed a hostage, but once he tore the veil from her head, there was no returning her. If you crave forbidden romance, dark, unforgiving, stay. Because Saul Morello doesn't take prisoners, he claims property. The garden was silent, too silent. Agnes knelt in the soil beside the lilies. Her knees sank into damp earth. The full moon washed the white petals in silver light. She inhaled slowly. Let the quiet fill her lungs. The other sisters were asleep. This hour belonged to her, her private conversation with God. No witnesses. Her fingers were laced together. They trembled, not from cold, from gratitude. The convent had saved her. It had taken a girl abandoned on church steps and built a woman with purpose, with faith, with armor. A snap. Sharp. Agnes lifted her head. The sound came from the eastern wall. A cat, maybe. Or the wind brushing the old fig tree. She closed her eyes again. Another snap. Heavier. Closer. Her heart kicked hard against her ribs. Instinct moved first, not logic. Something older, something inherited. She rose slowly. Her white habit brushed the grass. She stepped back, toward the corridor of cells. 10 steps, maybe 15. If she ran, the shadow stepped out, tall, broad, as if the darkness had spit him out. His suit, once flawless, was torn at the shoulder, soaked in something dark, shining under the moon. Blood. The metallic scent hit her before her mind caught up. He staggered, 1 step, 2. His eyes locked on hers. Agnes froze. Not ordinary fear, the kind that comes before death, the body recognizing a predator before the mind can scream. He lunged. She ran. Her bare feet barely crossed 3 stones. Before his hand clamped around her arm, iron tight, the world spun. Her back slammed against the stone wall of the cloister. Air fled her lungs. His palm crushed over her mouth, large, hot, unyielding. Her scream died against his skin. She tried to bite, to claw, to kick. His body pressed harder, erasing space, erasing resistance. His suit, stained crimson, crushed against her white habit, corrupting it. Quiet. His voice was low, rough, a command carved in stone. 1 sound, and I snap your neck before you finish praying. His eyes were black, deep, empty of mercy. Agnes stopped fighting. Not obedience, survival. Her breath came through her nose in sharp bursts. Her chest trembled against his torso. She felt the heat of him, brutal, feverish. Even through the blood-soaked fabric, his muscles were rigid, an animal cornered, still strong enough to kill. He tilted his head, studied her face, the crooked veil. The wet lashes she hadn't noticed were crying. The silver cross trapped between their bodies. Something flickered in his dead gaze. Not pity, not regret, recognition. A nun. The corner of his mouth shifted. Not a smile. Something darker. God has a twisted sense of humor. His hand eased from her mouth. Just enough to test her. She didn't scream. Her lungs begged her to. Her heart pounded so hard she was sure he felt it. Through fabric. Through bone. But she understood. In 3 seconds of eye contact, he was not bluffing. Smart. He leaned closer. His breath brushed her temple. Coffee, cigarettes, blood. You'll walk in front of me. No running, no calling your little sisters, no heroics. His hand slid down her throat, stopped at her collarbone. His fingers pressed exactly where her pulse throbbed. Wild. He felt it. She knew he felt it. Because you just became my exit guarantee, little sister. Sirens wailed in the distance. He stiffened, jaw tight. Before she could process anything, his hand wrapped around her wrist. He pulled her from the wall, like uprooting a flower. He dragged her into the dark. Her fingers shook so badly she missed the lock twice. Faster. His voice rumbled at her neck, his body sealed against her back. Muscle, blood, breathing hard. He was losing blood. Fast. A small part of her thought, let him collapse, let him die, run back, scream for help. His grip tightened on her waist. Painful. The thought died. The next second you waste, I drag one of your friends out of bed and show her what happens when I'm kept waiting. She shoved the key into the lock, turned it. The iron gate groaned open. The sound sliced the night. She was helping a criminal escape, betraying everything she had sworn to protect. She was surviving. The car waited across the street. Black, armored, the kind that swallows people and never returns them. He pushed her forward. She stumbled. Asphalt scraped her bare soles. Get in. Not a request. She opened the back door. Dark leather interior, cold, smelling of smoke and copper, old blood. She barely sat down before he climbed in behind her. The driver didn't turn, didn't ask questions. The car launched forward, throwing her back into the seat. Then he collapsed on top of her, full weight, sudden, crushing. Agnes had never been touched by a man, never felt another body press against hers. Convent life was distance, safe space, careful hands. This was not careful. It was invasion. Saul fell against her as if his strength finally surrendered. His torso pinned her to the leather. His face dropped to the curve of her neck, breath hitting the sensitive skin beneath her ear. Hot, uneven. She stopped breathing. He burned. Fevered heat seeping through layers of fabric. His muscles pressed into places she had never labeled vulnerable. Her chest compressed, her ribs strained, her hips trapped beneath his. Every inch of him was there. Take it. His voice broke. He coughed. Something wet splattered on her shoulder. Take off the jacket. Her hands didn't move. Her mind had gone blank. His grip closed around her wrist, guided, forced. Now. She obeyed. Automatic. Her fingers found the soaked fabric, warm, sticky, intimate in a way that made her stomach twist. She pushed the jacket off his broad shoulders, revealing the white shirt beneath, white no longer. It was red, completely red. The blood had turned it into a second skin. Press. He grabbed her hand, crushed it against the wound on the left side of his torso. Don't move. Her palm sank into liquid heat. Agnes choked on her breath. His blood pulsed against her skin. Alive. Unsteady. She could feel his heartbeat. Irregular. Dangerous. And for the first time that night, she realized something else. If he died, she died with him. Through the open wound. Every beat forced more red between her fingers. Hot. Relentless. I don't know what I'm doing. Her voice cracked, thin. You're keeping me alive. Saul shifted on top of her, redistributing his weight, pressing her deeper into the leather seat. His thigh slid between hers, for balance. Agnes felt heat rise to her face. Not fear, something else. That's all you need to know. The car took a sharp turn. His body slid against hers, fabric against fabric. The friction pulled a soft sound from her throat. He noticed, even through the pain. His eyes were blurred with blood loss, but still sharp, still hunting. They met hers in the dim back seat, close enough for her to see details. Dark lashes, skin texture, a thin scar slicing through his left eyebrow. First time? His voice was rough thread, barely sound. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The flush climbing her neck was enough. Something shifted in his gaze. Not kindness, not mercy, recognition, the look of a predator realizing the prey had never run before. Don't worry, little sister. He adjusted his hips again, pressed harder, stealing her breath. You'll get used to me. His free hand rose, fingers stained with his own blood. He traced a slow line along her cheek, down her jaw, across her lower lip. She felt the heat he left behind. Red on white. Blood on skin, marking her. You're carrying part of me now. His thumb pressed into her bottom lip until she felt it everywhere. And when I'm done, you'll carry a lot more. Sirens wailed somewhere far away. He closed his eyes, breathing steadier under her pressure. Agnes stayed still. A Mafia boss crushing her body, his blood drying on her skin, like a promise she never asked for. a promise that could not be undone. The private elevator opened straight into hell, not the hell of flames, not the one Scripture warned about, a quieter one, polished, silent, black marble floors, smoked glass, a view of Manhattan spread below like a carpet of light. The penthouse of Saul Morello, a place that did not exist for women like her, a place that swallowed runaways and never returned them. Two men in suits waited, stone faces, eyes that did not question. "Doctor," Saul growled, leaning against the elevator wall, blood still slipping between his fingers at his ribs. "Lock everything down." The men moved immediately. Agnes stood frozen, bare feet dirty, scraped from asphalt, against the polished floor, an insult to perfection. Her blood-stained habit clung to her skin. She did not belong here. Saul knew it. He pushed off the wall with a quiet groan, walked toward her. Each step cost him. She saw it in the tight jaw, the controlled breathing. He stopped inches away. Agnes lifted her chin, refused to step back. His eyes lowered slowly, methodical, taking inventory of what the black fabric hid. "Take it off," her voice failed. "What?" "The habit." He said the word like it disgusted him. "It doesn't enter my house." She stepped back. Her spine hit cold marble. The chill bit through thin cloth. "No." The word slipped out before she could stop it. Instinct, desperation. He tilted his head. The corner of his mouth curved. Not amused. Something darker. "That wasn't a question, little sister." He moved, fast. His hand caught the veil, the last piece still covering her head. He pulled, the fabric tore. Cold air struck her scalp, her brown hair, wavy, pinned tight for years, spilled free, falling over her shoulders, an avalanche she barely recognized as hers. His hand froze mid-air. Something cracked in his expression, a fracture in the mask. His black eyes narrowed, taking her in. Not the nun, the woman beneath. Agnes crossed her arms over her chest. Useless gesture, small defense. "Please," her voice trembled. "It's all I have left." "Exactly." He stepped closer, heat radiating from him. Still feverish, still wounded. "You're not God's bride anymore." His fingers found the first button of the habit, cold metal brushing her collarbone. "You're my collateral." Collateral doesn't wear uniforms. The first button came undone, then the second, then the third. Each metallic click echoed in the vast silence, like a funeral bell. He didn't rush, didn't look away. His eyes stayed locked on hers, as if he wanted to witness every second. The habit opened. Cold air flooded her exposed skin, needle sharp. Beneath it, she wore only what the convent allowed. A simple white cotton slip, modest, falling from chest to knees. She had always thought it childish. But the way he looked at her, he did not see a child. The thin fabric clung where sweat had dampened it, revealing curves she had hidden for years, curves she had forgotten existed, defined by the cold overhead lights. He pushed the habit from her shoulders. It slid down her arms, hit the floor with a dull sound. Agnes shivered, not from cold, from exposure. No veil, no habit, no armor, standing before a man bleeding onto his own carpet, and still looking at her like she was the most interesting wound in the room. "Look at you." His voice was low, rough. His fingers rose, tracing lightly along her shoulder, barely touching, but she felt it burn. All this time, hidden. His fingers slid down her arm, to her wrist, rested where her pulse raced. "The convent taught you how to pray." He leaned in. His breath brushed her ear. "I'll teach you the rest." Tears burned behind her eyes. She didn't let them fall. She would not give him that. But when his fingers moved again, up her throat, along her jaw, gripping her chin, forcing her to look at him, she understood something cold. The choice had never been hers. "You still pray, little sister." His eyes were endless, hungry. She swallowed. "Yes." "Good." His thumb brushed her lower lip again. "You're going to need it." The elevator doors opened behind them. "Mr. Morello," a professional male voice. "The doctor is here." Saul didn't move, didn't release her chin, held her there 3 more heartbeats, then let go. Take her to the last room down the hall. He turned toward the waiting doctor. Lock the door. Strange hands gripped her shoulders, guided, pushed. Before they dragged her away, she looked back. Saul stood in the center of the room, blood slipping between his fingers, eyes locked on her, and something in that gaze terrified her more than threats. He hadn't taken her as a hostage. He had taken her as possession. The bedroom was a silk cage. Agnes sat on the edge of the bed, dark mahogany frame, white sheets too clean, too large, for anything holy. Her bare feet barely touched the Persian rug, her arms crossed over her chest, doing little to hide what the thin slip revealed. 2 hours. 2 hours locked in luxury silence, muffled voices beyond the door, the doctor, the guards, and him. Always him. Now there was only silence, worse than noise. The handle turned. She jumped to her feet. Her heart sprinted before the door even opened. Saul entered like he owned the air. Because he did. Fresh clothes, dark trousers, black shirt, top buttons open, white bandage wrapped tight around his torso, dark hair damp from sweat or shower, his face still pale, but his eyes alive, dangerously alive. He closed the door behind him. The lock clicked. A verdict. Sit. Agnes didn't move. Her legs trembled, but she didn't give ground. Saul tilted his head. The corner of his mouth lifted. Not amusement, approval. You have fire, little sister. He walked toward her, each step controlled, measured. Most people are on their knees by now. I'm not most people. No, you're not. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she felt the heat still radiating from him. The silence stretched tight between them, like wire. Agnes held his gaze, didn't look down, didn't retreat. She had little strength left, but enough not to collapse. What do you want? Security. The word was soft, almost casual. I need to know what you brought into my house. I brought nothing. You dragged me from the convent with nothing but the clothes I was wearing. Exactly. His eyes lowered slowly, mapping. And now I need to verify what's under those clothes. Her blood went cold. No, that's not an available option for you. He stepped forward. She stepped back. Her calves hit the edge of the bed. She lost balance, fell onto the mattress. Before she could rise, his hands landed on her shoulders, firm, hot, unmovable. You can make this easy, he said quietly, or you can make it interesting. Your choice. She swallowed hard. Her hands grabbed his wrists, trying to push him away, like pushing stone. Please. That word doesn't work here. He eased her down. Not violently, just enough. Her back met the mattress. He leaned over her, arms braced on either side of her head, a cage of muscle. He wasn't touching her fully. Not yet. But the closeness suffocated. I'm going to ask questions, he said, his face inches from hers. And while I talk, I'll check if you're lying, understood? She nodded. Her voice was gone. First question. His right hand lifted, rough fingers, scarred, stories written in skin. He touched her temple. Did anyone at the convent know I was coming? No. His fingers slid down her cheek, along her ear, down her neck, stopped at her pulse, pressed. Her heart hammered wildly. The truth. Interesting. His hand moved lower. She held her breath. His fingers traced her collarbone. The touch felt clinical, measured as if cataloguing bone, muscle, skin. But there was nothing clinical in the heat of it. Her skin reacted instantly, every nerve awake, like it had never been touched before. Because it hadn't. Second question. His fingers found the strap of her thin slip, brushed the fabric. Do you have loyalty to anyone besides God? The convent was my only family. Was. He repeated it slowly. Tense matters. You learn fast. The strap slid down her shoulder. She closed her eyes. Look at me. She did. Not by choice, by instinct. His free hand slid down her bare arm, to her wrist, lifted it, pinned it gently above her head against the mattress. Third question. His other hand settled at her waist, fingers spreading over her hip through thin cotton. Is anyone coming to look for you? She hesitated. His grip tightened. Air left her lungs in a broken sound. Not a scream, not a moan, something in between. The truth, little sister. I don't know. The Mother Superior will notice I'm gone. But I don't know if she'd risk the others for me. So, no one is coming. He finished it for her. His hand moved up her side, following her ribs, feeling each one through the thin fabric, as if reading Braille. She trembled, not from cold. Her body felt like fire. You're shaking. His voice dropped lower. His lips brushed her ear as he leaned closer. More fear? She didn't answer. She couldn't trust her voice. No, he said softly. His fingers stopped just beneath the vulnerable curve her slip covered. That's not fear. His palm spread over her abdomen. Heat through cotton. Liquid fire. Her back arched without permission. Trying to escape, or get closer. She couldn't tell. Your body tells me truths your mouth refuses to admit. He stepped away suddenly. Cold air rushed into the space he left. She felt the absence like loss, like something removed. Saul stood beside the bed, looking down at her, her slip askew, hair spread across white pillows, breathing uneven. You're clean, he declared. His voice had returned to command, cold, distant. No device, no weapon, no surprise. She forced herself upright, her arms shaking from effort, and now? Her voice was rough. Do you let me go? He laughed, low, dark, empty of humor. Let you go? He moved toward the door, hand resting on the handle. Little sister, I haven't even started with you. He opened it, stepped through, then paused deliberately. Looked over his shoulder, their eyes locked. Next time I touch you, it won't be for security. The door shut. The lock clicked. She stood there shaking in sheets that smelled like him, trying to remember a prayer strong enough to save her from what had just awakened inside her. None came. 3 days passed, or 4. She couldn't tell. No windows, dark-paneled walls, lights that never fully dimmed. Time became meaningless, measured only by meals, and his absence between them. She tried to pray the first day, or what she believed was the first, kneeling beside the bed, eyes shut tight. Our Father, who art in heaven. The words dissolved before reaching her lips. In their place came sensations, his hands, the heat of his fingers on her skin, his breath at her ear. Your body tells me truths. She opened her eyes, stopped praying. Now she sat on the edge of the bed, knees pulled to her chest, wearing a simple grey cotton dress from the closet, no black, nothing that reminded her who she used to be. The lock clicked. Her body reacted first, spine straight, breath quick, eyes on the door. Saul entered carrying a tray. He looked stronger. Color returned to his face, no stiffness in his movements. Dark shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, veins and scars visible along his forearms, marks of violence. You didn't eat yesterday. Not a question, an accusation. She stayed silent, eyes fixed on the tray, fresh bread, fruit, scrambled eggs. Her stomach betrayed her with a growl. He set the tray on the small table, pulled a chair, sat facing her, legs apart, elbows on his knees, a man with all the time in the world. Eat. I'm not hungry. Your stomach disagrees. He tilted his head, studying her with those black eyes, seeing through every fragile defense. You will eat, little sister, even if I have to put each bite in your mouth myself. She swallowed. The image his words created, his fingers at her lips, pushing food past them, sent heat up her neck. She grabbed a piece of bread, bit into it, chewed without tasting. "Good girl." The words hit like electricity. Something twisted deep inside her. Not hunger, not fear, something unnamed. He watched her eat in silence. Minutes passed. When she finally set down the fork, he leaned back in his chair, reached into his pocket, pulled out a phone. "I have a gift for you." Her body went still. He unlocked the screen, turned it toward her. A news article filled the display. The headline bold, bright. "Nun disappears from New York convent. Police suspect voluntary departure." The air left her lungs. The newspaper trembled in her hands. "Read it." Saul's voice was calm, too calm. Agnes tried to refuse. Her throat tightened, but her eyes moved anyway, against her will. Line by line. Sister Agnes, 28 years old, left St. Clara Convent on Tuesday night. Witnesses claim they saw a female figure walking through the main gates. The Mother Superior stated the young nun had shown signs of spiritual unrest. "No!" Her voice broke, thin, strangled. "That's a lie," she swallowed. You never thought about leaving?" Saul folded the phone slowly, carefully. "You never wondered what was beyond those walls?" Silence. Her silence answered for her. "The cameras show you opening the gate for me." His tone stayed soft, almost gentle. That was what made it worse. "The records show no force, no struggle. You walked." He stepped closer. "The only witness is an 80-year-old nun who swears she saw a shadow in the garden." "I screamed," Agnes whispered. "I fought." "In the dark?" He tilted his head. "No witnesses." He stood now, closed the distance between them. "To the world, you are a woman who lost her faith and ran." His voice lowered. "No one is looking for a victim. They're looking for a deserter." Her eyes burned, but she refused to cry. "Why are you showing me this?" He stopped inches away, so close she had to lift her chin to look at him. "Because you need to understand." His fingers rose. Those same fingers. They touched her chin, lifted it. "There is no exit." A breath. "No rescue." Another breath. "The convent moved on. Your sisters believe you abandoned them." He leaned closer. "God." His mouth hovered near her ear. "God is too busy to care about a sheep that wandered off." "I didn't run." His thumb brushed her lower lip. The contact sent heat down her spine. Deep, unwanted. "You were chosen." His breath smelled like coffee, mint, danger. She didn't step back. She should have. "Did you pray today?" Almost a whisper. She shook her head. Shame flooded her face. "Because I can't," she tried to say. The words wouldn't come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his hands. Every time she tried to reach for something holy, her body dragged her back down. He understood. "You feel dirty." Not a question. Her eyes closed. A tear slipped free. It rolled down her cheek. His thumb caught it before it fell. "You are not dirty, little sister." His voice was rough now. His lips brushed her forehead. Light. Almost imaginary. "You are waking up, there's a difference." He stepped away. The heat disappeared. She opened her eyes just in time to see him walk toward the door. "Saul." He stopped, didn't turn. It was the first time she had spoken his name aloud. The two syllables burned her tongue, like a reversed prayer. "Why are you doing this to me?" 3 heartbeats of silence. Then he looked over his shoulder. His eyes met hers. Dark, hungry, but deeper than hunger. Older. "Because I saw you in that garden," he said quietly, "on your knees, bathed in moonlight, talking to a God who never answers." His voice thinned to a rasp. "And I thought, what a waste." Waste of what? One corner of his mouth moved, not a smile. Devotion. The door closed. The lock clicked. Agnes stood alone, with his name still in her mouth, and the growing certainty that the hunger he mentioned was not only his, it was hers too. Steam curled in lazy spirals when Agnes entered the bathroom, not by choice, never by choice. Saul's hand rested at the base of her spine, firm, guiding her through the doorway like someone leading a nervous animal. The bathroom was obscene in its luxury. Black marble, gold veins running through every surface. A bathtub the size of a small pool waited in the center, already filled, steam rising. The scent was floral. Jasmine, maybe lily. One entire wall was mirror. It reflected them both. Him tall, dressed in black, composed. Her barefoot, in a simple grey dress, shaking, even in the heat. She turned toward him. "What is this?" "The bath." He released her, crossed his arms. "You smell like fear, and outside air. I dislike both." "I can bathe alone." Her voice nearly failed. "That's not what I said." Her heart pounded. "Saul, you're getting in." His tone remained calm. That made it worse. "You will wash, and I will watch." A pause. "There are years of dirt to remove. I don't trust you to be thorough." She stepped back. Cold marble met her spine. "Please, this is sin?" He moved forward, one step, then another. "You've been soaked in sin since the moment you opened that gate." He stopped inches away. "So this won't change anything." He studied her. "Take off the dress." Her hands trembled at the hem. Her mind screamed. Run, fight. But where? The doors were locked. Guards outside. The world believed she left willingly. No escape, no salvation. She pulled the dress over her head. The humid air wrapped around her skin. She wore the same white slip from that first night, cleaned, returned to her. A cruel joke. The thin fabric clung to her in the steam, almost transparent. His eyes moved slowly, deliberate. The rest. She closed her eyes. Her fingers found the straps. She couldn't. "Look at me." The command cut through her. Her eyes opened. "You're ashamed," he said. "Of your body. Of your skin. Of everything they taught you to hide." She said nothing. Her throat locked tight. He stepped forward. His fingers reached the straps first. Warm. Rough. Certain. He slid the fabric down her shoulders. Slowly. Worse than if he rushed. The slip fell to the floor. A surrendered cloud at her feet. She crossed her arms over herself, trying to cover what couldn't be hidden. The arms. The word escaped her before she could stop it. A final act of resistance. He didn't shout, didn't get angry. He simply took her wrists, moved them aside, as easily as opening curtains, and looked. She felt his gaze like touch. Every inch, every curve she had pretended did not exist, every part the convent labeled shameful. "See," he murmured, "that's what they convinced you was dirty." She couldn't answer. He guided her toward the bath again, hand at her spine, burning through skin, marking her. She stepped into the water. It was hot, almost too hot. The heat wrapped around her body, liquid arms, up her stomach, over her ribs, stopping just below her shoulders. Steam blurred the room. Edges faded. It felt unreal, like a nightmare she would wake from. Back in her cell, crucifix above the bed, morning prayers in the hall. Then his hand entered the water. She gasped, not from temperature, from reality. His fingers circled her ankle, slow, sliding upward along her calf, leaving fire in their path. "What are you doing?" she breathed. "Cleaning you." His voice was rough now. His eyes locked on hers, as his hand continued upward. Years of conditioning, years of being told that desire is shame, that touch is sin, that the body is a trap. His fingers slid behind her knee. Agnes shivered, hard. "Relax." It was not comfort. It was a warning. He reached for something at the edge of the tub, a bar of soap, lavender, mint. He rubbed it between his palms, slow, foam-built, white, thick. Then his hands returned to her skin. Agnes stopped breathing. He began at her shoulders. Soaped palms glided along the curve between neck and arm, downward, circular motions, almost gentle. Almost. There was something possessive in the way his fingers lingered, something claiming. When she tried to pull away just slightly, still. The word cut through the steam. Order. She bit her lower lip, hard enough to taste copper. His hands moved down her arms, one at a time, shoulder, elbow, wrist, careful, focused, more devastating than cruelty. He lifted her hand from the water, turned it over, washed each finger separately, slow strokes along her palm, tracing the lines, as if reading her future. As if it's written here, he murmured, his lips too close to her ear. You spent years on your knees. His breath brushed her skin, praying to a God who left you on church steps when you were still an infant. Agnes stiffened. How do you know that? I know everything about you. His hands slid to her back, guided her forward. Foam streamed down her spine in white rivers. I know your mother left you in a basket. His voice was steady, with a note that said, take care of her, I can't. The words hit harder than his touch. I know you never knew your father. His fingers pressed along the center of her back. I know the sisters raised you because no one else wanted to. Tears came before she could stop them. Hot, silent, mixing with steam and water. Don't, she whispered. But he didn't stop. His hands moved to her neck, up into her hair, fingers digging into her scalp, massaging, firm, almost pleasurable. You built armor out of prayers, he said. Vows, silence, obedience. He pulled her back gently. Her body leaned against the edge of the tub, wet hair clinging to her shoulders, face tilted up toward him. I don't want the nun. His eyes burned, voice low, rough. I want the woman under her. His hand slid along her side, over the water, tracing her ribs, pausing at her waist, waiting. Why do you care what I am? Her voice was barely there. Saul leaned closer. His suit brushed her wet skin, dark fabric absorbing water. He didn't care. His lips stopped an inch from hers. Because you're the first person in 20 years. A breath. Who looked at me with fear and didn't look away? His breath mixed with hers, warm, heavy. And I want to know what else you're hiding. His hand moved beneath the surface. Agnes gasped. And somewhere in the apartment, a phone rang. Sharp, insistent, shattering the moment like glass. Saul pulled back, jaw tight, eyes still locked on hers as he stood. Don't leave the water. His tone was controlled, deadly calm. Until I return. He walked out, the door shut. Agnes remained, shaking, the water already cooling, her skin still burning where he had touched her. The second the door clicked, she moved. Not rebellion, desperation. She stepped out of the tub. The air hit her skin. Cold, not the temperature, the memory. Every drop sliding down her body carried him with it. Every ripple in that water felt like evidence of what happened, of what she felt. She opened a mahogany cabinet, found a towel, white, soft, obscenely luxurious. She wrapped it around herself, tight, like armor, pressed the fabric to her chest until it hurt. In the bedroom, the grey dress waited on the bed. She put it on with trembling hands, damp skin making the cotton cling. Her hair dripped down her back, dark stains forming. Agnes sat on the edge of the bed and did the only thing she knew how to do. Our Father who art in heaven. Her voice came out thin, strained. Hallowed be thy name. The words were familiar, anchors. For years they had kept her steady, connected to something pure, untouchable. Thy kingdom come. She closed her eyes, focused on rhythm, on structure, trying to block out everything else. His scent still on her skin, the phantom heat of his hands. Thy will be done. Her voice grew stronger. the prayer flowing now. Desperate, almost violent, she needed to expel him, needed to remember who she was. "Give us this day our daily bread." The door opened. She did not stop, did not open her eyes. "Forgive us our trespasses." Footsteps, slow, measured. "And lead us not into temptation." To what? His voice was low, danger wrapped in velvet. Agnes opened her eyes. Saul stood in front of her, shirt still damp where it touched the bath water, black eyes sharp. She didn't stop. "But deliver us from evil." "I told you to stop." The command vibrated in the air. She stood, legs trembling, but she held his gaze. "You can lock me up." Her voice shook. "But you can't take my faith." Something shifted in his face, a crack in the mask. "Your faith," he said it like poison. "The same faith that kept you on your knees while the world moved on without you." He stepped closer. "The same faith that taught you to be ashamed of your own body." "It's all I have." "No." Another step. "You have pride." Another. "Fire." Another. "And that stubborn defiance that makes me want to silence you." A pause. "And make you scream." She backed up, calves hitting the edge of the bed. "Stay away from me." "Or what?" He was inches away now, heat radiating from him. "You'll pray louder?" He tilted his head. "Call your absent God?" "Amen." She threw the word at him, like a weapon. "Amen?" His hand closed around her throat, not squeezing, not hurting, just holding, precise, controlled. She gasped, not from pain, from shock. "You want to know what I hear when you pray?" His voice was a rough whisper against her mouth. "I hear a woman trying to convince herself she felt nothing in that bath." His thumb brushed the side of her neck, found her pulse, wild. "Then why is your heart racing?" "Fear." "Lie." He pushed her back. The mattress hit her spine. Before she could react, his weight covered her. Not fully, not yet, but enough. His hands pinned her wrists above her head, white sheets beneath her. His hips settled between her thighs, forcing space, forcing closeness. She gasped. The pressure was absolute. Every inch of him against every inch of her. No room for denial. She felt his heat, through fabric, through breath. "Pray now." His face inches from hers. "Go on, sister." His eyes burned. "Ask him to save you." She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. All she felt was him. Weight, heat, cedar on his skin, something darker beneath it. More primitive. "That's what I thought." His voice dropped lower. "Your God isn't here, Agnes." A slow breath against her lips. "In this room." Another. "In my bed." He pressed closer. Air left her lungs. "I'm the only God you have right now." Blasphemy. Truth. His nose brushed hers, lips hovering, not touching. A promise. A threat. Deep down, you know it. He shifted his hips, slow, deliberate. "And your body knows it too." He moved his hips, slow, deliberate. A ripple against her that pulled a sound from her throat. Not protest, not prayer, something else. "It's begging, Agnes." His voice dropped. "Every muscle, every nerve." A pause. "Every part of you they trained to ignore." Tears burned her eyes. Frustration, shame, something she refused to name. "Why are you doing this to me?" The question broke on the way out. Something shifted in his face. The anger faded, replaced by something heavier, more dangerous. "Because when I saw you in that garden," his voice turned rough, almost soft, "I recognized the cage." A breath. "The same one I lived in before I chose to break it." "I'm not in a cage. You're in the worst kind." His lips brushed her eyelid, a ghost touch. "You built it yourself." He pulled back. Cold rushed in where his heat had been, and she hated the part of herself that felt the loss like a wound. Saul stood beside the bed, looking down at her, hair messy, shirt wrinkled, hunger no longer hidden. "You're not my insurance policy anymore." She pushed up on her elbows, breathing uneven. "Then what am I?" He leaned down, His fingers found her chin, lifted her face. "You're my obsession." The word landed heavy between them. "Obsessions." His thumb traced her lower lip. "Don't get released." A pause. "They get destroyed." Another pause. "Or possessed." He stepped back, walked to the door, stopped with his hand on the handle. "Tomorrow you'll have dinner with me. You'll wear the dress in the closet. You'll behave like the woman I know is under all that borrowed faith. And if I refuse?" He looked over his shoulder, a faint curve at the corner of his mouth. "You won't." The door shut. The lock clicked. Agnes lay there, with dead prayers on her tongue, and his heat still burned into her skin. The dress was red, not soft rose, not sunset copper. It was the red of fresh blood, of warning, of everything she had been taught to avoid. She put it on anyway, not because she wanted to, because showing up in grey would mean surrender, and something stubborn inside her refused to hand him victory. Dinner was quiet, tight. Saul barely touched his plate. His eyes stayed on her, watching while she pretended to eat. His face looked paler than usual, a thin layer of sweat on his forehead. He said nothing about it. She didn't ask. Afterward, he walked her down the hall. She assumed it was over, that he would lock her back in silk and silence, until the next confrontation. She was wrong. Not here. His hand caught her wrist when she reached her door. "My room." Agnes froze. "What did you hear?" The question slipped out. Instinct. As if self-preservation still existed here. He leaned close, heat radiating from him. Too much heat. Feverish. "I haven't slept in 3 nights. His voice was rough. "The wound is inflamed." A breath through his teeth. "The pain keeps me awake. And when I finally sleep," his eyes darkened, "I wake up wanting to kill the first person I see. That's not my problem." "Wrong." His fingers tightened around her wrist. "Everything that happens to me now is your problem." A pause. "If I die from infection, my men take over. And they are not as patient as I am." The threat was clear, brutal. "What do you want?" "Your presence." He pulled her down the corridor. "I discovered I sleep better when you're near." A faint, humorless exhale. "Maybe it's the incense that still clings to you. Maybe it's the irritating sound of your saintly breathing. But it works." His bedroom was larger, darker. A massive bed dominated the space, black sheets absorbing the light. The air smelled of cedar, leather, him. He released her wrist and moved toward the bed. Each step cost him. She saw it now, the stiffness. The way his hand pressed discreetly to his side. He was worse than he let on. "Lie down." She stayed near the door, heart pounding. "I won't." "You will." He turned to face her, pale, eyes bright with fever. "You'll lie there. You'll stay quiet. You'll sleep. And if I wake up screaming, you wake me before I hurt someone." A pause. "Because that someone might be you." He sat on the edge of the bed, began unbuttoning his shirt. His fingers trembled slightly. The fabric slid from his shoulders. Bandages wrapped his torso, stained yellow at the edges. Her stomach turned. "That needs to be changed." The words escaped before she could stop them. Instinct, years caring for the sick. He lifted a brow. "You know how?" "I was the convent's nurse." She regretted admitting it, especially when his mouth curved faintly. "Then come here and do your job, Sister Agnes." She approached, against every instinct to run. Her hands found the edge of the bandage, unwound it carefully. Professional, mechanical. But her skin reacted when her fingers brushed his bare torso. Fever heat shot through her fingertips, up her arms, settling somewhere low. The wound was red, inflamed, hot. "You need antibiotics." She focused on the task. "It's infected." "The doctor comes tomorrow." His voice was low, eyes fixed on her face. For now, you'll do. She cleaned it, applied ointment, wrapped fresh bandages from the nightstand. Her hands only shook once. She stepped back the second she finished. He lay down. Not under the sheets. On top of them. Bare torso shadowed in dim light. Lie down. She obeyed. There was no alternative. She lay on the far edge of the mattress, as far from him as possible, body rigid. Closer. No! His hand found her wrist in the dark. Pulled. She slid across silk sheets, until his heat bled through the thin red fabric. Here. His palm pressed to her back. Guided her, until she faced him. So I can feel you. She closed her eyes. Her heartbeat thundered. She was sure he could feel it. Silence settled. His breathing gradually slowed, deeper, more even. The fever heat wrapped around her, smothering. She tried to move away, inches at a time, his arm locked around her waist, before she made it 5 inches. Still. The word came sleepy, eyes still closed. She froze. His arm was heavy across her waist, his hand resting at the base of her spine, fingers spread over the thin red dress. He pulled her closer, so close she felt the rise and fall of his chest. The heat was unbearable. She tried to think of anything else. Not the muscle against her, not his scent filling every breath, not the weight holding her captive. She failed. His breathing changed, turned uneven. A low sound left his mouth, not pain, something deeper. His arm tightened, his entire body pressed closer in sleep. She felt everything, the heat of bare skin beneath bandages, the tension in his muscles even unconscious, the shift of his hips seeking proximity, and something else. Something that stole her breath. Don't run. His voice was a rough murmur, still asleep, still holding her, dreaming. His lips moved against her forehead. Don't run. His arm tightened, not gently. His leg slid over hers, locked her in place, his face buried in the curve of her neck. Hot breath, uneven, burning against her skin. Agnes couldn't breathe. His body covered her halfway now, heavy, overwhelming, too warm. Through layers of fabric, her dress, his pants, she felt it. The undeniable proof that even in fevered sleep, he wanted her. She should have been terrified, she was. But something else moved under the fear, something slow, coiling down her spine, settling low in her stomach, like a live ember. Something that made her hips want to shift, just slightly, to test the firmness pressed against her, to find out what would happen if... No. She whispered it to herself. A warning, a prayer. But his lips brushed her neck. Barely. And the sound that left her throat was not protest. It was surrender. She froze, her whole body burning. Shame, heat, need. He was asleep. He had to be. Unaware. And yet, every unconscious movement pulled reactions from her that years of vows had failed to bury. The night dragged on, slow, heavy. Agnes did not sleep. She couldn't. She lay still, trapped beneath his arm, trapped inside her own body. He murmured against her skin, words she couldn't understand. His body pressed against hers in slow, instinctive waves, not calculated, not controlled, just male, just need. When the first grey light slipped through the curtains, she was ruined, exhausted, confused, burning with something she refused to name. Then his eyes opened, black, clear, fully awake. Good morning, her sister. His voice was rough from sleep, but his smile was not. Did you rest? Cold horror spread through her. You were awake. It came out like an accusation. She tried to move. His arm tightened, a chain around her waist. Part of the night, Saul admitted. His dark eyes held hers, no regret. Long enough to feel every time you stopped breathing when I moved. Heat flooded her face. Shame, anger, something else. You used me like... Like what? He shifted onto one elbow, bare chest hovering over her, Dawn light traced every line of muscle, every scar, the white bandage she had changed hours earlier. "Tell me, Agnes, what did I do that you didn't want?" She opened her mouth, closed it. Because he was right, he hadn't forced her. He had just existed. His body against hers, heat, weight. And she had stayed, feeling every inch, every shift, every sign of him, and responding. "I heard you," he said quietly. "That sound you made when my mouth touched your neck." He leaned closer. "That wasn't protest." "Stop." "No." His face hovered inches from hers. "You spent the whole night fighting your own body. I felt every muscle go tight, every breath you held, every time you wanted to move against me, and stopped yourself. I didn't. You want me to prove it?" His hand slid down her side, over the red dress she still wore, stopped at her hip. She inhaled sharply. "That's what I thought." His thumb traced slow circles through the fabric. "Your body doesn't lie, sister. Only your mouth does. This is wrong." "Why?" His hand moved higher, curving along her waist, stopping just beneath the line the dress barely concealed. "Because a book told you it was? Because women in veils said pleasure is sin? Because I kidnapped you?" His eyes burned. "You opened the gate for me. You cleaned my wound. You stayed in my bed. You didn't sleep. Because you were too busy feeling." The words hit hard, because they were not entirely false. She could have screamed in the garden, fought harder in the car, refused to tend his injury, refused to sleep beside him, refused the red dress he chose, but she hadn't. At every turn, she had yielded, told herself it was survival, necessary, temporary, anything but the truth. The truth standing over her now. She had wanted him. Since the moment he pinned her against the convent wall. Blood on his suit, death in his eyes. Something in her had woken that night. Something hungry. "Say it." His voice was low, a command wrapped in something almost like plea. "Say you want this, and I'll finish what I started." She closed her eyes, tears slid into her hair. "I can't." "You can." His fingers lifted her chin, forced her to look at him. "You just have to stop fighting yourself. For a few seconds." Her eyes opened, locked with his, and something inside her cracked. "I want—" The words broke apart, then came back stronger. "I want you." Silence. He didn't smile, didn't gloat. His eyes darkened. Again. "I want you." More desperate now. "I'm tired of fighting." That was enough. He kissed her. Not soft. Not gentle. It wasn't romance, it was hunger finally allowed to exist. His mouth claimed hers, demanding, possessive. She had never been kissed like that, never been consumed. The taste of him, the heat, the way he held her like she might disappear. Her hands found his shoulders, not to push, to pull. A low sound vibrated in his chest. His hands moved. The red dress slipped from her shoulders, fabric sliding down her arms, pooling at her waist. Cool air touched her skin. She shivered. Beautiful. His voice rough, reverent. He lowered his head, mouth tracing her neck again. Slow, claiming. Her back arched without permission. Her body answering faster than her mind. The last barriers of fabric disappeared. She lay exposed, breathing hard, not from cold, from anticipation. He leaned back just enough to look at her, slow, intent, hungry. Mine. The word wasn't loud, but it was absolute. She should have protested, should have remembered who she was, what she had sworn. Instead, yes. He covered her again. Warm, solid, unavoidable. His weight pressed her into the mattress. It should have felt suffocating. Instead, it felt grounding, like falling into something inevitable. His hand moved between them. She gasped. He silenced the sound with his mouth. His touch was deliberate, learning her, mapping her reactions, drawing sounds from her she didn't recognize as her own. Look at me." His voice was strained now, controlled. She did. Their eyes locked. The moment stretched, breath mixing, bodies aligned. There was hesitation, a final pause, then commitment, slow, measured. He watched her face the entire time, tracking every flicker of emotion. There was pain, yes, sharp, unexpected, but layered over it. Something deeper, connection, completion. A line crossed, a vow shattered. "Don't close your eyes." She didn't. She held his gaze, and when the distance between them finally disappeared, she felt it. Not just physically, but everywhere. Irreversible, permanent, and his eyes never left hers. The moment they crossed that line, something changed in him. She saw it, deep inside those black eyes, a crack, a wall breaking. For 1 second, he wasn't the boss. He wasn't the monster people feared. He was just a man, looking at a woman like she was the only real thing left in the world. Then it was gone. He moved. Slow at first, measured, deliberate, every motion steady, controlled. Agnes felt the shift, the rhythm building, not rushed, not wild, but deep, intent. Each movement pulled the ache out of her body and replaced it with something darker, something addictive. Her fingers gripped his shoulders, not to push him away, to hold on. The sensation grew, wave after wave, heat against heat, breath mixing. Soft sounds escaping both of them. She barely recognized her own voice. "Please." She didn't know what she was asking for. More. Less. Everything. He answered without words. The pace changed. Faster now. Control thinning. Saul moved with urgency, not reckless but driven, like he had been holding back for too long. She should have been afraid. Instead, she felt herself rising, higher, closer to something sharp and dangerous. Her nails dragged across his back, her legs tightened around him, her body molding to his like it had been waiting for this shape. Mine. The word left him rough, broken against her skin. Say it. She could barely think. "I'm yours." It came out breathless, honest. He made a low sound. The rhythm lost its last restraint, relentless, powerful, chasing something just beyond reach, and then it hit her, hard. Her whole body tightened. A rush that shattered her from the inside out. She called his name, not sure if it was prayer or confession. He followed seconds later, his body going rigid, breath breaking against her shoulder, then stillness, heavy, complete. Silence filled the room, their breathing slowly settling, skin cooling. Agnes lay beneath him, waiting for regret, waiting for guilt to crash down. It didn't. Instead, his voice, low against her ear. "If you think I'm letting you walk back into that convent after this—" The bedroom door exploded open. "Mr. Morello!" Saul moved instantly, fluid, his body shielding hers, one hand already under the pillow. A gun appeared in his grip. She hadn't even known it was there. The man in the doorway looked pale, out of breath. The Bratva. They found the safe house. They're coming up. The shooting lasted 17 minutes. Agnes counted without meaning to. Curled in his closet, wrapped in a black sheet. Gunshots echoed from below, muffled, violent. The smell of him still clung to the fabric around her. Her body still remembered his weight, his voice, her words. "I'm yours." She had said it freely, and now men were dying, because she was here. When the noise finally stopped, she didn't move, knees to her chest, shaking, not just from fear, from guilt, from something worse. "Please let him be alive." The closet door opened. Saul stood there, covered in blood. She flinched, until she saw his eyes, clear, focused, alive. "It's over." His voice was calm, too calm. For now. He held out his hand. She took it, without hesitation. His fingers were still warm, still stained red. He pulled her up. The bedroom was untouched. The hallway was not. Bullet holes. A body being dragged away. "Don't look." His hand covered her eyes. "How many?" she whispered. "7 of them. 2 of mine. No emotion, just facts. They came for you." Her stomach turned. "This is my fault." "No." He turned her to face him, blood still on his jaw. "This is their fault. For thinking they can take what's mine." The word hit again. Mine. "We're leaving." He moved toward the larger closet. But first, she watched him. "What?" "You need to look like what you are now." "And what am I?" He looked over his shoulder. "Predatory." "Mine." He returned with a black dress. Tight, low cut. A slit high along the thigh. "Put it on." "I can't wear that." "You can, you will." He tossed it onto the bed. "From now on, you don't wear anything I didn't choose. You don't go anywhere without me. That's not control. It's protection." He stepped closer, fingers gripping the edge of the sheet she clutched. "You're a target now. The only way to keep you alive is to make it clear who you belong to." He pulled the sheet away. She stood bare before him again, different this time, marked. His eyes moved slowly over her, not lust, assessment. His finger traced a dark bruise near her neck. Here, another along her collarbone. And here, she flushed. Not from shame, something deeper. "Not enough," he murmured. "When you walk into a room full of my men, I want them to understand." He pulled her closer. His mouth found unmarked skin, firm, claiming. When he pulled back, there would be no hiding it. "Get dressed." 10 minutes. She slid the black dress on. Silk. Cold at first, then warm against her skin. It fit like it was made for her. He pointed toward the bathroom. "Makeup, right drawer." She walked in slowly. Steam and jasmine lingered in the air. She stopped in front of the mirror. The woman staring back was not the nun. Same brown eyes, same face, but no veil. Hair loose over her shoulders, black dress hugging every curve. Marks visible above the neckline, like a collar of bruises. She looked, claimed. The word unsettled her. And yet, it didn't feel entirely wrong. She applied makeup with unsteady hands, a little color, mascara, red lipstick. When she finished, she barely recognized herself. "Perfect." His voice came from the doorway, arms crossed, watching her reflection. "I don't recognize myself," she whispered. "Good," he replied, and stepped closer. He stopped behind her, close, so close his body framed hers in the mirror. Their reflections fused into one shape. "The woman you were is gone," he said quietly. "The convent buried her the moment they believed you ran." His lips brushed her ear, soft, possessive. "And who am I now?" she asked, her voice barely steady. His eyes locked with hers through the glass. "You are Agnes Morello." The name landed heavy, like a verdict. "My wife. My property. My obsession. We're not married." The words came fast, almost desperate. She turned to face him, eyes wide. "You can't be serious." "I never joke about what belongs to me." His fingers lifted her chin. Slow, deliberate. "You think what happened was just one night. You think I would touch you, acclaim you, and walk away. You think I use women and throw them out?" His jaw tightened. "I don't. You're mine, Agnes." His gaze burned. Old, primitive. "And I will make sure the world knows it." A knock at the door. "Mr. Morello, the car is ready." He didn't look away from her. "When we walk out there, you stay at my side, head high. You look every one of my men in the eye. Like you own this empire," she swallowed. "And if I can't?" A faint curve touched his mouth. "You survived years in a convent. You survived being kidnapped. You survived my bed." His thumb brushed her lower lip. "Soldiers staring at you is nothing." He offered his arm. She took it, Together they stepped into the hallway. Blood still marked the floor. His men lined the walls, some wounded, all armed, all watching her. She felt every stare, on the dress, on the marks on her neck, on her hand gripping his arm, but she did not lower her head. She walked beside him, like she belonged there, like the blood was a red carpet, like the men were courtiers. At the elevator, he leaned close. "That's my girl." The doors closed. Her reflection stared back from the metal surface. Black dress, visible bruises, a Mafia boss's hand firm at her waist. The nun was gone. The woman left behind no longer found comfort in prayer. Now she understood belonging. The new safe house was higher, more secure, guards on every floor, cameras everywhere. He called it the bunker, a place built for war. 3 days passed after the attack. 3 days she did not leave. 3 days he came to her only to sleep, late, exhausted, always pulling her beneath him, holding her tight like she might disappear. Belonging felt like prison and freedom. At the same time, that afternoon, the apartment was full. Male voices filled the air, low, tense, urgent. She caught fragments while dressing. Bratva, territory, retaliation, words that had not been hers before. Now they were. "Don't leave the bedroom." He stood at the door. Black suit. Impeccable. The capo again. "Why?" "Because I said so." He crossed the room in 3 strides, lifted her chin. "This meeting isn't for you. Am I your prisoner or your wife?" The question slipped out, sharp. Prisoners stay locked away. Wives stand beside their husbands. Something flashed in his eyes. Interest, approval. "How you want to sit in on a discussion about drug routes and executions?" "I want to stop hiding." Silence stretched. He studied her. The navy dress he had chosen, her loose hair, the fading marks on her skin. "You don't speak. You don't react. You don't look any of them in the eye." His voice lowered. "Understood?" "Understood." He led her out. The main room was massive, glass walls overlooking Manhattan, a long table at the center, 8 men, hard faces, cold eyes, weapons visible beneath tailored jackets. Saul guided her to a chair at the edge, visible but separate. "Gentlemen," he said. His voice changed, sharper, colder. "We begin." Agnes kept her gaze lowered. Names passed, numbers, threats, promises wrapped in steel. She understood little, but she felt everything. Some looks were brief, curious, others lingered. One did not move at all. The man to Saul's left, younger, blonde hair slicked back, ice-blue eyes, predatory calm. He watched her openly, smiled when she finally glanced up. She looked away immediately. Her pulse quickened. "So the port remains neutral?" Saul's voice cut cleanly. "Victor, anything to add?" The blonde man leaned back, smile still there. "Just an observation." His accent was thick. "Your taste improves every year, Saul." His gaze shifted to her again. "A nun." He said it slowly, as if savoring it. "They say you dragged her from a convent, that she belonged to God before you." Silence filled the room. Victor's eyes traveled over her. The neckline, her crossed legs, the fading bruises. "How much?" The word sliced through the air. "When you grow bored of the toy." He leaned forward. "I pay well." Agnes didn't see Saul move. 1 second he was seated. The next, Victor's chair crashed backward. Saul's hand locked around his throat, pinning him to the floor. "Saul," someone began. "Sit." The command was lethal. "No one moves." The room froze. Agnes stood without thinking. Saul's grip tightened. Victor's face turned red, then purple. "You looked at her," Saul said calmly. "You spoke of her like merchandise. You asked her price." Victor tried to speak. Only air escaped. "She has no price." Saul leaned closer. "She is mine. Like my heart, if I still have one. And you do not look at a man's heart and ask what it costs." "Saul." Quiet. The grip tightened further. Victor's eyes rolled slightly. "You are going to die now," Saul said evenly, "and they will watch. And when they go home, they will tell their families what happens when someone looks at Saul Morello's woman." Saul, her voice, soft, firm, strangely steady. He did not turn, but the pressure stopped increasing. "He's not worth the war you're about to start." She stepped closer, slowly, like a predator circling. "The Bratva will retaliate," she said. "More blood will spill, more lives will be lost, all for words. He disrespected you. He looked at me." Agnes stopped beside him, close enough to feel the heat radiating from him. "Men will look. It's what men do, but looking is all they can do. Because I am yours." She placed her hand on his shoulder. The muscle beneath her fingers was rigid, stone. The intensity radiating from him was palpable. Primordial fury, not business, pure possession. "Release him." Her voice dropped, a whisper, meant for him only. "And take me to the room. Show me I am yours. Beyond words, beyond reason." Something shifted in Saul. His grip loosened. Victor coughed, rolled onto his side, hands pressed to his throat, gasping. Saul straightened, his black eyes still burned with rage. "You just saved his life," he said quietly. "I just saved yours." She held his gaze. Wars aren't won with impulse. For a heartbeat she thought he might argue. That fury might overtake reason. Then his hand closed around her wrist, pulled her close. "This meeting is over." The walls echoed his voice. Everyone out. No one needed a second invitation. Chairs scraped, footsteps echoed across marble. In less than a minute the room was empty, except for Victor. The Russian still pressed his hands to his throat, blue eyes wide with fear and hate. "Victor," Saul said. He froze mid-motion. "If I am anywhere near her again, if I even hear you thought about her, I will not kill you immediately." Victor swallowed hard. "I will kill everyone you ever loved, in front of you. And only then will I let you live. So that every day you spend alive, you remember this is your fault." The Russian crawled out of the room, without looking back. The door slammed. Silence. Saul turned to Agnes, eyes still dark, breath still uneven. "You should not have interfered. You were going to kill him." "And what then?" she whispered. He advanced. She stepped back, her spine pressed against the glass wall. "He looked at you, like a woman for sale. He deserved to die. I am not yours to kill him for. You are mine, for everything." His body pressed her into the glass, heat seared through fabric. "You are mine, to kill, to die for, to destroy entire cities over. If anyone touches a hair on your head—" His lips smashed against hers. The kiss was brutal, punitive, charged with the fury he had not unleashed on Victor. Agnes returned it in kind, biting, scratching, demanding. When they finally broke apart, both were gasping. "You scare me," she whispered. Raw truth. His fingers dug into her hair, pulling her head back. "Because what I feel for you terrifies me. And if I must live with this terror, you will live with yours." The phone rang. Saul ignored it, eyes locked on hers, like he could consume her right there. Again it rang. "Answer it," she whispered. "It could be important." He did, never looking away. The silence that followed was thick. She saw a shift, fury replaced by cold calculation, measured. Pause. Then, "Send pictures." He hung up. "What was that?" Agnes asked. He exhaled, stepped back, jaw tight. A tension she had never seen before. Someone had left something at the old safe house, his voice icy, with her name. Agnes felt her blood freeze. He raised the phone, held up a white envelope, black ink, handwritten, for Agnes, from her real family. She grasped it with trembling fingers. Saul watched from across the room, arms crossed, jaw set in the hard line she knew too well. "You don't have to open it." I need to. She didn't meet his eyes. If there's anyone left who knows who I am, who I was, I need to know. And if it's a trap, then it's a trap. She finally looked at him. But I've spent 28 years not knowing where I came from. Not knowing why my mother left me on those steps. If there's an answer in this envelope, I will read it. She opened it slowly. Inside, a yellowed photograph, edges frayed, a young woman, brown hair, large eyes, sad smile, cradling a baby. On the back, my little Agnes, forgive me, the only way I could save you from them. Beneath it, a newspaper clipping, 28 years old, about a woman found dead in New York, name underlined in faded red ink, Tatiana Volkov. The envelope slipped from Agnes's hands. Volkov? Saul's voice cut the silence. Something new flickered in his stance. Tense. You are a Volkov. Does that mean anything? He didn't answer immediately, crossed the room in long strides, picked up the photo from the floor, studied the woman's face. The Volkovs had ruled the Bratva 30 years ago, Saul's voice carefully neutral, until they were wiped out in a territorial war. No survivors, they said. The floor seemed to tilt beneath Agnes. My mother was Russian Mafia. Her daughter, a Pakan's heir. Saul dropped the photo, his eyes locked on hers. That made you heir to an empire that no longer exists. Was. Your mother has been dead for 28 years, Agnes. His tone softened, almost gentle. Tatiana Volkov, found in a New York apartment, 3 months after leaving the convent. Officially, suicide. Not officially. He gestured to the clipping. She had been silenced, before revealing the location of her only heir. The silence hung. Dense. The envelope. Who sent it? Saul pulled another item. A small card, typewritten letters, Volkov family attorney, kept in custody 28 years. Tatiana's instructions. Deliver the daughter if she left the convent. No one else knew, no one would come. Agnes collapsed into the nearest chair, her legs no longer supporting her. 28 years, believing she'd been abandoned by a mother who did not want her. 28 years of prayer, asking forgiveness for resentment now revealed unjust. Her mother had hidden her, protected her, loved her in the only way she could, and died for it, alone, hunted, knowing she would never see her daughter again. Tears slid silently. My whole life a lie, she whispered, not abandoned, hidden, protected. The convent was not a refuge. It was a tomb, to keep me alive, and I, his voice came from behind, closer. What I am. Agnes rose, walked to the window. Manhattan sparkled beneath twilight, like diamonds scattered on black velvet. You are the man who pulled me from that tomb, she said softly. Who stripped me? Who claimed me? Who made me something I don't recognize? And you hate me for it? The question hung between them. She searched inside herself, for hatred, for anger, for anything a woman should feel toward the man who tore her from everything familiar. She found nothing. Her words slipped out, like confession. My mother hid me from the Mafia, to save me. And the Mafia found me anyway. She took a step toward him. Perhaps this was always her destiny. Blood calls to blood. Something released in Saul's face, a tension she hadn't known he carried. Then stop fighting, he said. His fingers molded her face. The nun is dead. Agnes Volkov, the heiress, a ghost with no kingdom. But this woman in front of me, his thumb traced her lower lip. She is mine, and no one will take her from me. Agnes felt something inside her break. The last barrier, the last resistance, the last thread keeping herself apart. She raised her hand, pulled the chain from her neck. The small silver crucifix, given by the abbess at 15, the only remnant of her old life. She held it up to him. This is all I have. Faith, identity, armor. She moved toward the fire. Its flames danced in shades of orange and red. Hungry, eternal. "My mother died hiding me from monsters," she whispered. She stared at the flames. "I didn't know I was born to belong to one of them." The crucifix in her hand gleamed. For a moment, silver, then gold, then white. And then it vanished into the embers. She turned to him. "Now I have nothing left, nothing of who I was." Saul watched, eyes black, reflecting the fire. "You have me," he said. She approached, slow, deliberate, eyes locked on his. For the first time. She knelt. The cold marble pressed against her knees. The dress fanned around her like water. Her hands found him, tracing the edge of his suit. "Agnes?" His voice was low, restrained, a growl beneath the calm. "You said I prayed to the wrong God." Her hands moved. No technique, no training, just devotion. The same devotion that kept her on her knees in the convent for years. The sound that escaped him. Not human. A beast finally claimed what was his. She didn't resist. She surrendered. She channeled everything, every prayer, every fear, every heartbeat, into him. And he anchored himself to her. Not pushing, not guiding, just holding. "You understand." His voice was rough. "You burn your cross. You kneel to me. There's no turning back." She looked at the fire, the embers of her crucifix, and then at him, the man who had ripped her from everything she knew and forged her into someone new. "My mother spent her life running from men like you," she said, calm, cold. "Dying alone, hiding. I could have ended up the same. But you found me. And instead of fleeing the monster," she smiled just slightly, "I became his." Saul's eyes darkened. Not just desire, recognition, approval, possession. "Then you accept it. This life. This world. Everything that comes with it." "I accept you," she said. He pulled her close. A slow, deep kiss. A kiss that sealed what words could not undo. When they parted, Manhattan lay beneath them. A kingdom of light and shadow, owned by men like him. "You see this?" His voice was low, dangerous. "Half this city fears me. The other half wants me dead. And now, you're in the center of it all." "I know," she said. "I've spent years on my knees, devoted to something I could never touch. Now I kneel to you." "You are real," she whispered. "You respond, you protect, you possess, you devour." Her fingers traced his chest. "The nuns told me my mother gave me to God, to save me from the monsters of this world. They were wrong. My salvation didn't come from heaven. It came with claws." Saul lifted her, her legs wrapped around him. He carried her away from the window, into the shadows of the apartment. "I'm not your salvation," he said. "No." She pressed against him. "You are mine, and I choose you always." He laid her on the bed, covered her with his body. His black eyes pierced hers in the dim light. "Welcome to hell." Agnes smiled, the first real smile since it all began. "Thank you," she whispered, "for bringing me home." And when he moved again, slow, deliberate, every motion a statement, a claim. For the first time in 28 years, she was exactly where she belonged, not in the arms of God, but in the arms of the devil.